Is there anybody out there?
The lights in the night sky. Skywatchers. We're watching. We're watching.
Did you see that?
Here on EngageLife.fm.
Good evening. Welcome to Skywatchers. This is your host, Deborah Jane East, and I'm very excited to have a wonderful new author with us tonight. His name is A.K. Kuykendall, and I'd like to read a couple of lines of his bio, and I will say that I enjoyed it so much. It says that he is a dedicated husband and father of 3. He was born in Albany, Georgia, and grew up a military brat and spent time in Hawaii and Camp Lejeune, which is here in my home state of North Carolina. And one of the things I really enjoyed reading was that he prides himself on writing stories with women as protagonists. His love and respect for women have inspired his creative writing career. That was wonderful. How are you doing this evening, AK?
I'm doing good. Thanks for having me.
Oh, I'm so happy to have you. Would you tell us a bit about yourself and your book?
Of course. Well, I was born in Albany, Georgia, but grew up as a military brat on the Kanoe Bay Marine Corps Base, Hawaii, and later at the Camp Lejeune Marine Corps Base in Jacksonville, North Carolina. I'm married to Magdiel Kuykendall and father of three sons. I'm a corporate executive chef by trade. My true passion in life is writing thought-provoking novels that blend the concepts of fact fiction. Conspiracy, espionage, horror, and suspense novels are my particular favorite. I'm influenced by the emotional and social strength of my mother. I have an infectious love of bringing women to the surface of my literature. My love and respect for women inspires me to create and to write stories featuring strong female protagonists. But to keep my literary skills sharp, so a poet and an extremely passionate economic, political, and social blogger.
Wow, you wear a lot of hats. I know that J.F. Kennedy figures prominently in your writing. Can you tell us why?
It's something that I can't go into depth with, but I will give you an overview, which is very much a true story. So I'll just lay it out as crisply as I possibly can. Back then, until this very day, we, the people of African descent, have been continually marginalized, dismissed outright, all because of our beautiful complexions. This marginalization and dismissiveness was like a reinforced shield, a heavily protective barrier for us, which for generations has held steady. The many books on President John F. Kennedy, his assassination, Warren Garrison investigation, to the books chronicling the plethora of eyewitness deaths omits the many African-American witnesses who, too, were fortunate to have hand-me-down cameras and video recording machines in 1963. Our government, like the plague, rained down on numerous European-American service members to civilians in their ongoing effort at covering up all that happened today in Dallas, while African-Americans in all of Camelot, who witnessed in great detail a United States president, one who spoke to their societal qualms, slain in broad daylight. That gumption, that evil, that display of unfettered power, bold and unapologetic, seen by we the people of African descent, triggered an instinctive reaction to quickly disperse, to store away their recordings, photographs, and their memories of all that really took place that day, and more importantly, to never, ever speak on President John F. Kennedy's slaying. My great-grandfather, may he rest in peace, told me on many occasions that upon the fall of Camelot, we, the people of African descent, were not safe in this nation as we were on that bloody day in 1963 Dallas. And after the fact concerning JFK's murder, he'd go on to say, I saw a child with a rifle in a storm drain on Elm Street. He went on to say that I have a photo of the kid. He was a white child, but black sewage sludge coated his face, but his eyes and features were unmistakably that of a child. I'm a legacy of an African-American witness to the assassination of President John F. Kennedy, and oh boy, don't I have a story to tell.
Wow, that sounds very interesting. And one thing I read about you is that you take real life events and you blur it into your fiction stories. And
Yes.
I've also heard that the reporting that the theories covered in your novels ties in the infamous Roswell UFO crash to the assassination of President John F. Kennedy. Is that accurate?
Of course, yes, this is true. In further building on the heavily guarded information passed down to me by my family as it relates to the JFK murder, I began a copious research process. Shortly thereafter, a highly complex puzzle began to form, both eerie and true-to-life connections. And in my desperate need to make sense of it all, I pushed on, exhaustively researching every angle that presented itself to me when I made a connection that at first even I could hardly believe. I discovered the true meaning behind former President Dwight David Eisenhower's January 17, 1961 farewell address to the nation.
Wow. I actually met his son one time at a political event. And would you say that your position that John F. Kennedy was aware of extraterrestrial activity on Earth?
He, as with all presidents, yes. Yes.
Okay. If I understand you correctly, Mr. Kuykendall, this is not a new phenomenon, and in fact, this has been going on for quite some time.
You are absolutely correct. You see, since the beginning of time, these beings have been with us, monitoring and categorizing. Their prime directive is humanity in its place. Globally, this is a reality where the world's leaders are given parameters by which they must comply. This specific mandate made crystal clear under a top-secret galactic agreement, which is known as the Interplanetary Treaty. President John F. Kennedy literally broke the mold, went against the universal mandate, and was snuffed out because of it.
Interplanetary Connection. I've never heard that spoken about before.
I can send you a link and send your audience a link that would take you to speculation on this interplanetary treaty. Eisenhower was one of the first to sign this interplanetary treaty, but he signed that interplanetary treaty not as President Eisenhower, but as General Eisenhower.
Wow. Could you elaborate on the connections made in your story?
Of course. As humans, we all are mere pawns, continually sacrificed at the whim of players with God complexes. The terms democracy and freedom are concepts from a common fairy tale. In these evolving times, we're a pack of conditioned sheep running aimlessly about, fooling ourselves into believing in our own individualism and freedom. We're nothing but a bunch of, compared to the way that they look at us, we're nothing but rats, just streaming the grounds of America and the world, for that matter. And we're nothing but where the ends justify the means. And I say the pixie dust that's sprinkled out there in our subconscious is nothing but a concentration of pure BS. At the core of it all is their ongoing objective. For the infinite purpose of these aliens has, and will always be to deceive mankind, to inveigle mankind and try to obfuscate mankind. History, as it is written, is extremely convoluted, but trust me when I say the connections are real.
Well, I've heard a lot of people say that same thing, that a lot of events in history that were written about were convoluted, were watered down so that people wouldn't be alarmed. So you're not by yourself in that belief. Now that I see where you're taking this, it's apparent that President Kennedy knew what must be done to fight this agenda. Would you agree?
That he did. Yes, I do agree that he did. The steady rise in the military-industrial complex President Eisenhower strategically spoke against was forged not to do better amongst our own species, if you can believe that, but to fundamentally preserve humanity's existence. You see, President Harry S. Truman, in 1947, met an alien named EBE, an acronym for Extraterrestrial Biological Entity. EBE spoke of a war. Truman henceforth set in motion the rise of the military-industrial complex and fortified his efforts tenfold during his time in office. President Eisenhower, Truman's predecessor, was against this due to the unethical path the trajectory had steered. Kennedy broke the mold and ignored the Interplanetary Treaty. First, by green-lighting our exploration into outer space, and second, he stood in the way of the all-out assault on Vietnam, to which a covert mission of the tactical arms divisions were underway. It's really quite simple. President John F. Kennedy truly believed that he was bound by nothing other than to we the people, not to the status quo, and damn sure not to malevolent factions within the extended universe.
He certainly was a rogue, and on all the movies and novels that I've read about him, he made up his own mind about things no matter what influence he got from other parties. So tell me, does your novel touch on the aspects of the UFO disclosure hearings as it relates to the United Nations? And if so, why do you believe that?
Well, in a way it does. There is an interplanetary war underway, if you can believe that. It has been so for generations that we humans are at the mercy of. The very humans that these warring factions are fighting like hell to dominate have perpetuated this war. President John F. Kennedy had foresight. What he saw is coming to fruition, to which our leaders are simply attempting to patch the holes they themselves refused to consider beforehand. The extraterrestrial factions that have used our bickering, our wars, and our distrust of one another, and our secrecy against us. The greatest of military strategies that they're actually enacting is to divide and conquer. That's what they're doing to the human race.
Yes, and watching all of the hearings on citizens' disclosure, there was talk about going to the United Nations to ask for all governments to offer full disclosure of UFO files. And do you think that our society could live openly where all these secrets are discussed openly and not kept a secret?
Well, this might sound a little bit pessimistic, but hey, I just have to be me. I believe so. But then again, humanity is a self-serving species, has been so since the beginning of time. This was, however, President John F. Kennedy's primary reason for greenlighting our exploration into outer space, and for his pressing push for worldwide disclosure.
Yes. What do you think about the current administration's address of these things?
You mean the Obama administration?
Yes.
Well, I don't know that much about. The only thing I do know that he's the first president to ever acknowledge that Area 51 was active or was even existed. He's the only president that did that, but I don't know exactly. I don't have any details that he's said anything out loud or that would tell me that he knows anything more, other than what I know all presidents are privy to this information about the UFOs, extraterrestrial connection, because it has something to do with security when it comes down to national security of the United States as well as globally.
Right.
So I don't know if he knows anything about.
Go ahead.
I'm sorry. I don't know if President Obama knows anything about anything outside of what he's been forced to disclose to us about the Area 51 thing. But he is bound under strict guidance not to do or say or breach the boundaries that all presidents are bound to be, or he will be taken out just like Kennedy did, just like Kennedy was taken out. If he upsets status quo, he'll be taken out like Abraham Lincoln was taken out. Basically, he will be assassinated if he were to disclose anything. All presidents are bound to that, and I knew that too. That's why he had a covert mission to try to stop these programs that Harry S. Truman didn't put in place, but he failed, and everything that he did was pushed toward his 1961 speech, where he strategically told us what was happening and what we needed to stop.
Well,
told us
last week
that
I
it was
talked
too
about we have somebody new in the White House that will help, hopefully, with disclosure, and that is Podesta. And who knows? Maybe he will urge some of the administration to address issues, which would be great.
It would be great, but I can tell you from my research and from my sources, it'll never happen. It'll never happen. No matter
What is your
policies they put
personal
forth.
belief about UFOs? Have you ever witnessed one or had someone in your family say they had saw a UFO?
Oh no, it's me. I've had an experience. It's pretty very detailed, but yes, I had an experience. But you know, I'm an author trying to sell books as well as build my author profile. I don't want to come off sounding like a kook or looking like a kook. But yes, I have a detailed disclosure about my experience with a UFO when I was younger. I don't know.
Oh, that's great.
I lost time. I didn't know nothing about lost time back then because I wasn't, as heavily into research on the UFO phenomenon when I was as a child. But as I grew up and I started learning certain these things, I remember I started reflecting back. And in my reverie, I find myself, yes, I did lose time that night. That evening, I did lose time. So I don't know if I was taken, abducted, and then brought back, or it was just a figment of my imagination. But the fact of the matter remains, something did happen.
Wow. And when I was younger, I witnessed a UFO sighting, and in fact, 3 separate times during my childhood. And you never forget something like that, do you?
Never. You never do. No.
Well, our time is running short, but could you just give us a little bit of insight into your writing and tell us how we can find your books?
Okay, well, a little bit of insight in my writing. Well, I can just let you know that I'm an author of fact-based fiction. I present the totality of what I've discovered not only through the covert counsel of my anonymous source and an extremely rigorous research process, but in a fashion that demonstrates the unfettered draw of speculative fiction. I'm a member of a secret society, one that uses the concept of alternative history to slowly awaken the masses to the covert doings of individuals of this world and beyond. It's a weapon stronger than you may think, for one cannot save a world nestled in a box, strategically dormant to the realities of their existence. By exposing the masses to the ideas of an alternative history, it would help soften the blow felt when the world's dirty laundry could no longer be contained. Writers such as myself, producers, film directors, etc., have been doing this for years, preparing the masses for the inevitable. Think back to Rod Serling's 1959 to 1964 series, The Twilight Zone, or the Mercury Theater's October 30th, 1938 broadcast of The War of the Worlds over the Columbian Broadcasting System radio, where actor Orson Welles continues to frighten the crap out of me. I knew then that in order to shake the psyche and affect the consciousness of my brethren, I would have to do it today, just as they did back then.
Wow. Well, I, for one, cannot wait to read your book. And didn't you tell me there's the possibility of maybe a movie in the future of some of your books?
Yes, my agent and I are in negotiations with a number of Hollywood insiders, producers, actors, SAG actors, and film enthusiasts for a possible feature film, for both my projects, both my horror story as well as my Conspirators Odyssey story. And it's going to be rather unique because it features a strong female protagonist. So maybe one day we can see something outside a comic book heroine known as Laura Croft of Tomb Raider. We'll see something more in-depth that has something to do with a sharp image befitting of a female soldier.
Wow. Well, I certainly hope that comes to fruition for you. And I will say that I hope your book will encourage people to dig deeper, do their own research, and, try to find the truth, because, it is out there, and no matter how hard they try to cover it, sooner or later it's going to come to light.
Very much so. We've been forewarning you, ladies and gentlemen, for many, many years, for generations. It's been ongoing. It's just a soft sell of the inevitable. You can reach out to me through my website, The Catch-All, at www.thewriterofbooks.com. That's www.thewriterofbooks.com. Come down, see what I'm talking about, and purchase yourself a copy.
Well, thank you, A.K. Kuykendall, for a very fascinating conversation. And I hope everybody will join me next week for Skywatchers on Monday at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And don't forget to listen to
anybody out there?
Life FM.
The lights in the night sky. Skywatchers. We're watching.